All right, welcome everybody. My name is James Anderson. I'm an analyst here at Gartner, and I cover IT financial management, which includes lots of things, including cost optimization. And the other side of things I cover is business value of IT and metrics and KPIs to influence business value. The funny thing is that both of these things are connected to each other. And a lot of times I start a conversation with some of you about cost optimization, and that leads to a conversation about business value of IT. Conversely, sometimes it's a conversation about business value of IT that becomes a conversation about cost optimization. The reason being that if you are not good at cost optimization, you don't really have a good business value of IT story. So the business value of IT story, the first part of that is about establishing credibility. If I feel I'm paying too much for your services and I feel I'm getting ripped off, don't tell me about the business value of IT story. Now, I am doing an Ask the Expert session tomorrow on business value of IT, and I'm also doing 6 universal measures on business value on Wednesday. So if you're interested in the business value conversations, those are good things to go to. What I'm going to talk here about today are the basic foundations of what we do in shifting from reactive cost cutting to proactive strategic cost optimization. Usually this starts out where somebody is saying, you need to optimize your IT budget. And the IT people say, hey, but I'm just managing the supply and the demand keeps coming in and we're not getting rid of the old stuff and it's not my fault. But this is about establishing credibility. Right? That you're not just reactive, cutting travel, training, whatever else to meet that cost target, but that you've actually got a strategy in place that says if we need to cut another 5%, what do we need to move? What do we need to change? Because it's not all on IT. You've essentially got 2 levers, your supply side and your demand side. On the supply side, this is purely IT responsibility, and your greatest value here is getting the best price for performance, the lowest cost per unit. On the demand side, this is the joint IT responsibility. Now, if you manage the supply really well, which is all on you, that makes managing the demand much easier. It's kind of like if somebody says, hey, I need you to make sure that you're doing things the right way. You know that they're doing things the right way. Right? You don't want to call somebody else's house dirty when yours is still dirty and you haven't cleaned it yet. So this is the first thing we do, is we make sure that we deliver and optimize the supply. So a lot of times people will say, well, in order to optimize my supply side budget, I need you to make better business decisions. And then your customer says, well, why should I make those decisions when you're sitting on all that inefficient IT spending? This is the input for the supply side. So these are the 3 main things that we look at on the supply side to give you the credibility to say you've done the right things and that you are managing the money well, the foundation of the business value of IT story. Okay, so the first thing that we look at here is on the supply side looking at waste. So if your CFO asks you the question, what are you doing to manage waste? And you're saying, well, I'm not really sure. That's not a good answer. Most organizations that are really mature actually look at auditing their resource utilization, but many do not. So look at these resource areas of waste, looking at fixing the past issues as well as looking at preempting the future issues which will produce more of that waste. Then another question comes. Are you getting good contract value? And you say, sure, I went to Gartner Symposium and I did the contract renegotiation and the cost optimization, right? But there's more than that. There's more than just using BuySmart. Most people get into the IT contract negotiation a little bit too late, okay? Most organizations don't even validate the financial benefits they're getting from their contracts. So when we're looking at planning the pricing, you want to make sure that you've got a good inventory of your vendors. Know which vendors are strategic versus tactical. You're probably going to pay more for the tactical and strategical stuff than you are just basic operational support. What this does is it helps create your roadmap so that your vendors know, hey, eventually we're going to get to a point where we need to get to the renewals, but a lot of times people start their contract negotiation all the way about on number 4. Okay? We know we need to renegotiate these contracts, and a lot of times you get painted into a corner because you know that you can't very easily just shift from one vendor to another because you have so many different types of reliances. So when you're 12 to 24 months out, this is ideally the time that you really want to begin having that inventory of the contractors to create that vendor jeopardy that says we're going to reach this window and we need to know what we're going to do. Most of you are starting here at number 4. What we're telling you to do here in contract negotiation is actually get to number 1. Look at 1 to 2 years out of all of your vendor contracts. The last question your CFO says, are you making the right calls on actually making IT cheaper to run? Right? This is the supply and the demand side. Simplification is key in the sense that you want to have lots of different types of automation, standardizing processes. This gives you the credibility that, yes, we've looked at our end-to-end supply chains, our value streams, and all of those types of things, and we've found opportunities to consolidate, rationalize applications, and maximize the output and the things that we're getting. Looking at your architecture and different types of resources, these are generally the efficiency and productivity areas that are going to reduce your overall costs on the supply side. So, you've removed the waste, you get your vendor contracts, and then you move your efficiencies. That's your foundation, okay? If you're not doing those 3 things, then you're probably not optimizing your supply costs. So, very quick, simple map. What you're doing is you've eliminated the supply side. Now you're left with the demand side. Okay? The challenge with the demand side is this is the point that's the joint IT and business responsibility. Now, the first thing you want to do is actually look to prioritize that new demand. This is usually overseen by a program management office, a vendor management office, maybe you've got an EPMO. Essentially what you're looking for is having an organization within IT that looks not only at the existing portfolio of operating expense, but is looking at how do I look at how new work comes into the organization, how is that prioritized, selected, executed across a consistent life cycle so that you can then relay the benefits of what you're doing back to your business units. So this is where most of that new challenge comes in. I always say that necessity trumps efficiency every time. So if a vendor comes in and says, hey, I can get you up and running in the sandbox tomorrow, and you have that same challenge and your client goes to your organization and you say, well, it's going to take us about 2 weeks to evaluate these types of things. What do you think they do? Of course, they're going to go right to the vendor, get operational tomorrow, and then you end up holding the bag somewhere down the line. Okay, this is very common. But by having this in place, by having that PMO, that kind of filter, this is going to help you prioritize that new demand. Okay, on this, there are several things we do. In challenging the volumes, do we really know what the business need is? Secondly, we're looking at the capacity. Do we actually have the ability to execute what they're asking us to do in the right way? Now, when I talk about value, I have a concept that I use. It's called value expected and value added. Okay? Executing something within scope, schedule, and cost is value expected because all of your projects, it's more of a supply problem than it is a demand problem. You probably said no to a whole bunch of other stuff, and when you execute what I asked you to do within scope, schedule, and cost, that's just value expected. I expect you to do that. So when we get into the business value story, a lot of times people will try to lead with that project portfolio because it's all the shiny stuff everybody asked for. What I'm saying is what's more important is make sure you understand the business need and that you can execute it properly within the capacity. Because if you say, yeah, we'll do it, and then you don't have the resourcing to execute it, you're also damaging your business value of IT story. And remember, the whole reason we're doing proactive cost optimization is to establish that credibility, that we're actually good at what we're doing. We know how to manage the money correctly. Because you don't really want to do business with somebody who you think is ripping you off. Okay, the next thing you do is you challenge the complexity. Are you doing too much? Are you gold plating these types of things? And then finally, how does this integrate with everything else that we have? This is where you're going to come up with consolidation, application rationalization opportunities. If collaboration and communication services cost 35% of your budget. You've either got 3D holographic video conferencing or tin cans and string and carrier pigeons, right? Somewhere in between that is the right cost, value, and risk posture for your organization to execute the services for the things that they care about, the outcomes that they care about. And I'm going to touch on that also in a little bit. So when we're validating the existing demand, part of that is that we're not going to be able to execute everything. So we've got to be able to have that conversation with our business partners to say, well, if we do this, this might happen. The challenge is a lot of times we just talk about how busy the IT stuff is, all the performance aspects, and we use metrics and KPIs to talk about how this is going to impact our systems. Challenge is, from a business value perspective, there's no real value just in the system. It's what our system enables relative to our stakeholders' outcomes. I'm going to touch more on that in the next couple of days if you come to my sessions on business value of IT. But essentially, what we're doing is we're shifting the performance delivery to our stakeholders now. This is how we're moving from making IT cost purely an IT decision to making it a business decision. The trade-off is in the price for performance, okay? You're either going to spend more money and have better performance, or you're going to spend less money and you'll have less performance. Somewhere there is the compromise. So once we've got that, now we have the conversation with our business. We've managed our supply, we have that credibility. Now we move on to partner with the business to agree on these other types of IT costs. This is where the business value discussion comes in, because if we say in IT, hey, you need me to meet that budget? I can take this 15% out and we'll save 15%. Oh, well, let's talk about the business outcome of that. We're maybe saving 15% here, but what does that really mean? Well, it means if it goes down on the weekend, we can't fix it until Monday. Oh, that's a different discussion than just saying you can provide the same service for 15% less. Now it's actually going to impact my ability to get my work done. When we're doing month-end close and the system goes down, I can't wait for somebody to come up on Monday. Okay? So here's where we get to the language of IT and the language of the business. When we know that IT has a certain responsibility, we look at what that opportunity is, but then we're going to look at the justification that the business has to say, maybe that's not the right thing for us. If IT says how much can we save, and it's just 15%, we've got to look at the financial downside. Well, we won't be able to get that system back up over the weekend. If we cut this cost, price for performance, how would those services be impacted? That's the IT conversation. But if the service is impacted, we think, well, then how will that business be impacted? And when we look at technical risks, just like price for performance, you either spend more money, you take on less risk, or you spend less money and you take on more risk. There's no such thing as perfect protection. When we're looking at spending, there are three things that we look at in IT: cost, risk posture, and value. Value is that fleeting thing. Everybody thinks value is the same thing. Show me the value. Well, value can be many different things for many different audiences. So we always want to think in the language of the stakeholder. What's the business impact? How do I translate what this cut in cost is going to impact what they actually care about? So I want everybody to cover their left eye and read the line that you can read the best. No, this is just an example, okay? But the idea is that you're giving your stakeholders a trade-off to say, on this side, you've got the IT service impact. Then you've got some prioritization criteria, right? Something that everybody can agree to. It's the concept here that's important, because here you've got the business impact along with the IT service impact so that you can make better decisions about what you're actually going to get. There are lots of different versions of this. It doesn't matter which one you use, but know that it's not just about the IT service impact. It's about discussing the business impact. So this is how it works. You've got that menu of options. Here's the IT service impact, here's the business impact. If you agree on the compromises, great. You've got your right-sized budget. But chances are they're going to say, no, we need to do more stuff. Let's go back to the table. We work through with our stakeholders, and then we say, we can't do anything more, and we've got the right-sized IT budget. Again, this is about building the confidence. So when your CFO asks these questions about, can you reduce the budget even further? You say, well, I've done all the supply side. I've done all the supply price side. We're doing the best that we can on the wastage, the contracts and pricing, and we've got lots of efficiency initiatives on the supply side. So everything that we can do, making an IT decision unilaterally on our budget, we've done. So therefore, the other things that you get on level 4 and 5 on the demand side become those negotiation levers. And now you can show your CFO, look, we've established the credibility that we can manage as much as we can do on the supply side. But the demand side, we need kind of your help to help drive our stakeholders to understand that there are decisions that they need to make, and it's your role to help enable that decision-making by shifting your conversation from just the language of IT to the language of the potential business outcomes and the impact of the cost optimization. So if you've got all the opportunities on the supply side, the only thing that's left are the compromises you get on the business. So you're shifting the decisions on IT costs purely from the supply and price side of what you can do to demonstrating that there are opportunities that you can get on the demand side, but you can't make that decision unilaterally. So you're good. You've got the credibility. You've got that initial building block of being directionally correct. You're establishing that credibility for your business value of IT story. So this is how we end it. You've got the supply side, you master the supply, and you prove that you've done it with those 3 areas that I addressed. And then you go to the demand side to validate the demand with your PMO, putting that filter on the new demand coming in and saying, can we actually execute this? And do we understand what the business impact will be so that every stakeholder is on board? Now, I also talk about the idea of a roadmap for cost optimization. And the idea is that you want to put all of your supply side cost optimization decisions within the first period of your roadmap. I talk about a 3-period roadmap. It doesn't have to be 3 years. It could be 3 quarters, 3 months, whatever it is. But I encourage you to develop a roadmap that says on one page, these are the things that we're doing for cost optimization, because it establishes your credibility that you're not reactive, you're proactive. We've done the supply stuff, now we're going to get to the demand stuff. What I encourage you to do is all of the demand ideas that you have, put those in period 2, period 3 of your roadmap, because what it demonstrates is that we've got lots of ideas, but we need more help to get other people on the demand side to buy into those ideas. And ideally, if it works well, your stakeholders will say, why are we waiting for period 2 or 3 to optimize these costs? Why don't we give it some more resourcing and get this stuff done sooner? Now, this presentation is based on all of this research. All of this research is also available on your Gartner Conferences app. You can download this presentation, and you'll also have the links to these. But that said, this enables me to finish early, and I will be on the side of the stage if you have any questions for me. But I will tell you, the business value of IT story is actually much more difficult than the cost optimization. But this is your basic blocking and tackling and the beginning of your business value conversation, because I know everybody here is worried about both, because they're directly related, as I mentioned in my introduction. So with that, I'm here all week. Let me know if I can help you otherwise. Thank you very much for coming to Gartner Symposium, and thank you for attending this session.